Hi guys, this is Rich with Wild Wonderful Weekends, and I wanted to make a quick video today to talk a little bit about why I like Measure ground control better than some of the more popular offerings like DroneDeploy, for instance. I'm not affiliated with Measure ground control in any way. I'm a little bit tired of every time there seems to be a software update for something like DroneDeploy or even DJI Go 4. There's always something that goes wrong with somebody's drone. And that's been happening to me a lot lately with the Phantom 4 Pro V2, which I've always used for the last couple of years for a lot of my mapping work and real estate photography, things like that. But I've noticed I've been having a lot of trouble with DJI Go 4 and DroneDeploy. Even out on jobs, I may drive 2 hours from my home to do a job for a client. You know, I'm under a deadline. I get out there and for some reason DroneDeploy isn't working. I've gotten errors on corner radius, which I was able to fix. I've had problems in the field where I can't adjust maps unless I'm connected to Wi-Fi, and some of the places I go are pretty remote and I don't have access to cell service or Wi-Fi. So anyway, I just wanted to show you a couple of things that I am experiencing and show you that even though Measure ground control is keeping up also with features, they are making updates, it just seems to work, at least for me anyway. Your experience might be different, but as far as the Phantom 4 Pro V2 goes, Measure ground control hasn't let me down at all. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit and show you some of the differences. I'd originally started making this video with the intention of showing you how to fix an error that DroneDeploy sometimes gives called invalid corner radius. But I wasn't even able to get that far due to other errors. After I calibrated the drone's compass and started the pre-flight checks, I immediately get an error stating that the obstacle avoidance check timed out. I tap continue anyway because I'll be flying in a wide open space and well above any obstacles. But this is still a problem if you want or need to use obstacle avoidance. The pre-flight check now moves to the camera, and it couldn't set the camera focus. I have the option to continue anyway here, just like I did on the obstacle avoidance error, but there's no point in launching a drone on a mapping mission if the images aren't going to be in focus. So instead I launched DJI Go 4 to see if there are any errors or problems with the drone. And I do notice that my camera has defaulted to manual focus, which is strange because I almost always use continuous autofocus, but no errors. I restart DroneDeploy and run the pre-flight checks again. This time it passes the obstacle avoidance check, but I get a new error during the camera check, this time strongly recommending that I restart the drone. So I do, and I relaunch DroneDeploy. And it still fails on the camera check with the same recommendation to restart the drone. At this point I start to get the creeping suspicion that it just isn't going to work. I retry the pre-flight checklist several times, restarting DroneDeploy, and even uninstalling and reinstalling DJI Go 4 and DroneDeploy. I'd read once before that sometimes a problem in DJI Go 4 can cause problems in DroneDeploy, and vice versa. But no matter what I do, I still get obstacle avoidance errors and camera focus errors. Finally, I decided to remove the tight angles in the flight plan to see if maybe that had something to do with it, since tight angles can cause the invalid corner radius error. To modify the flight plan, I had to connect my iPad to my phone's hotspot. This is another unfortunate attribute of DroneDeploy, because occasionally I have to fly in areas where I don't have cellular service and no Wi-Fi. In those cases, if the flight plan has to be modified, I need to drive somewhere where I can connect, modify the map, then come back to the mission site. So now with the flight plan simplified, I initiate the pre-flight checks and get an error message stating that the test photo failed and it strongly recommends that I restart the drone. I tap retry, but still no dice. At this point, if this were a real job and I had to drive to get cell service so I could redefine my mapping area and still get errors when I came back, it would be a real problem. Now, let me show you how painless this is with Measure ground control. I launch MGC, bring up my flight plan. I can modify my boundaries, and even though I'm not connected to cellular or Wi-Fi, the flight plan updates in real time. I tap Next, and I have access to all of the mission's parameters. I tap Save and Fly, and all of the checks pass right away, except for the airspace check, because again, I'm not connected to cellular or Wi-Fi. But that won't stop me from flying the mission, because Measure ground control trusts the pilot to do their part in researching the airspace. And the drone launches without hassle and begins happily mapping the area. For me, MGC is just much more reliable. It's feature rich, digital products are rendered using Pix4D's engine, and it just works. The updates I've installed haven't broken anything, and it doesn't seem to have any quirky conflicts with DJI Go 4 or any other software for that matter. Anyway, if you'd like to see a video on using Measure Ground Control from planning to execution to sharing deliverables, check out my video by clicking the link in the top right corner of your screen or using the link in the description. If you find these videos useful, please like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching and take care.